Da Nang, a city in the central part of Vietnam. It's the third biggest city in this fast-growing country. It's also popular as a beach resort and in the midst of a construction boom. This is a public elementary school in Da Nang. Looking inside, there are students who appear to be in the lower grades playing together. They're throwing rocket-shaped balloons. Here, there are things that seem to be hurdles. They're quite low to the ground. But they're raised midway, and the students jump over them properly. Looking closer at the items that got the children excited, they all have the logo of Mizuno, a Japanese sports equipment maker. This man wearing a suit is Seigo Mori, who has been in charge of Asia marketing for 8 years at Mizuno. He's aiming to expand the company's business in Vietnam.
Even in places with little space, with this easy-to-use and safe equipment, children can enjoy themselves while learning about exercise and play. This is part of an exercise and play program that Mizuno independently developed.
Mizuno spent 5 years developing Hexathlon, a physical education program for elementary school students. They say children will master the basic movements of sports. For example, the air rocket nurtures the throwing movement, the hurdles, running and jumping. There are even exercises to rotate the entire body. Mizuno is working to make this hexathlon more widespread in Vietnam. Behind these moves is the lack of exercise among children. In Vietnam, childhood obesity is becoming a serious problem. With factors such as the change in eating habits, some data show that 40% of elementary school students in the capital, Hanoi, are more than slightly obese. But most elementary schools don't have playgrounds. At some schools, physical education is carried out on tiled areas like this. And so, the lessons involve
Lean back. Stretch again.
calisthenics like this, and running movements in the same spot, and very little else. The lack of exercise is a serious problem. So the company felt it would be able to market Hexathlon, which allows children to do exercises even with little space in Vietnam. In trials so far, they found that the amount of exercise is double that of typical physical education classes in Vietnam. What do the local teachers think about the program?
The amount of exercise is more than what you get in a typical physical education class in Vietnam.
It stirs up interest, and even more, the equipment is really new and interesting.
It's not just the equipment. There are also explanations for the instructors. The company is planning to sell the equipment and class programs as a package.
Next year, the curriculum guidelines issued by the Education and Training Ministry will be revised, and we want this to be officially adopted. On top of that, we want Hexathlon to be included in compulsory education and spread across the whole of Vietnam.
They're aiming for Hexathlon to be adopted at about 15,000 public elementary schools throughout Vietnam.
We want this to resonate with everyone, from the top education officials to teachers at elementary schools nationwide, and push it forward.
Local teachers are throwing the rockets. On this day, an event is being held to get teachers to also experience the effectiveness of hexathlon.
By holding it firmly and putting force into it only at this point, and by throwing it over and over again, the children will learn about the timing.
This balloon won't fly properly when it's thrown haphazardly. To get it to fly straight, it needs to be thrown in the correct way. The teachers appear to have experienced that firsthand.
So you need to properly adjust the angle of your arm in the direction you want to throw it.
I'm sure it'll be a lot more fun than our PE classes now, and that they'll like it.
Mr. Mori is hard at work promoting hexathlon.
I want it to be officially adopted without fail. This is the last spurt.
Their marketing efforts in Vietnam have reached the final stretch. Meanwhile, in Japan,
Please, please.
getting off the bus is Mr. Mori of Mizuno and government officials from Vietnam. Mr. Mori invited them to Japan to see a school that adopted the hexathlon program.
Now, please.
Walking beside Mr. Mori is a top Vietnamese government official.
We just really want the children to exercise.
He looks on at the children jumping over hurdles with a serious expression.
Big smile with all our children.
He's hard at work pitching the product. Has he been able to get across the advantages of hexathlon?
The students aren't just passively participating, they're proactively involved. I think it's an effective class. Personally, I believe there's a strong possibility it will be adopted.
If hexathlon is adopted across Vietnam, sales could reach several billion yen. What's more, it would have the effect of turning the Mizuno brand into a household name in the country.
We want hexathlon to be adopted in primary education. Sports such as soccer and badminton are popular. So we want to take this all the way and do business in Vietnam.
Will educational content open up a new opportunity for Japanese companies?